I was gonna say my name is Timmy. Yeah, I'm kind of stupid. Yeah. I don't know what rhymes with Timmy. My best friend is Jimmy. She's also stupid. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Serial Killer Monthly.
I feel like I keep getting farther and farther away from you.
The first thing I want to say is that next month there will not be a Serial Killer Monthly. I am not posting at all in September, so this is the last video that you are going to see until October, because we are doing the 31 days of Halloween, where I am posting every single day for 31 days straight. You're gonna get so sick and tired of us, but that's okay.
It'd be alright.
Because the people around us all the time have to deal with it, so you can too. They don't handle it very well, but at least there's a pause button for them and not for the people who are around. Today we are doing Jack the Ripper.
Two British scientists are finally revealing the DNA evidence they say helped solve one of history's biggest crime mysteries, the identity of Jack the Ripper. Back in 1888, the notorious serial killer murdered and mutilated the bodies of 5 women in London.
But since this takes place in England, do we have to talk with British accents the whole video?
Please don't. They would be like, I'm out. I'm done watching.
I'll keep my British accent to a minimum.
You know you're doing it right now, don't you?
Who is Jack the Ripper?
Who?
I'm gonna tell you. But I'm not actually gonna tell you because no one knows. He is an unidentified serial killer.
Unidentified flying object.
He is an unidentified flying object. He came down from space and started murdering people, and he just left.
He said, well, I feel better now.
He was located around the Whitechapel district, also called the East End of London, England, and this all took place in 1888, so it was quite a while ago. He was also known as the Whitechapel Murderer and the Leather Apron. A little backstory about the mid-19th century England, because it's not how it was today. So like when I'm telling you about this, you gotta remember like things were very, very different back then.
It was like almost 150 years ago.
That's too damn long. So around this time there was a mass increase in the Irish immigrants, and because of this Irish immigration, you know, the major cities started to rise in population, and you know, a city can only hold so many people, especially back then. Like there weren't these massive cities like New York, Chicago, Decatur.
Decatur? Why is that Decatur?
Because I just went to Decatur. But also at this time, along with the Irish immigrants, there were also the Jewish refugees fleeing from pogroms. Pogroms, I don't know if I'm saying that right, it's P-O-G-R-O-M-S, and it was in the Russian Empire, basically anti-Jewish rioting. So the Jewish were fleeing the area, and they were all ending up in the East End, Whitechapel. Whitechapel became so overpopulated because of this. At one time, there was 80,000 people there in 1888, so that's a lot of people considered for back then. With all of that happening, it developed a significant underclass in the city. Homeless shelters were on the rise, and everything was just so overcrowded. 55% of kids that were born at that time died before they were 5 years old. Like, that is awful.
Yeah, the mortality rates were really high back then anyway.
And because of all of this going on, it drove the poverty up, and it made people just angry, and when you get angry, they started committing very violent crimes. The main crimes that were going on was robbery, violence, and alcohol dependency. You can see how all of that can tie together. You know, you get drunk, you go rob somebody, and then you kill them.
That was a strange way to put it, but okay.
Along with all of that happening, many women were turning to prostitution just to make ends meet. Women couldn't even work at this time, could they? In October of 1888, there was an estimated 62 brothels, and 1,200 women were working as prostitutes in them. Because of all of this happening, a very large number of women started being attacked in the area late at night. Since there were so many violent acts happening, it is so uncertain of who was doing who at the time. So a lot of these murders, they don't know for sure who it was. And you know, back then it was so hard to determine anything at the time. Because basically, you know, all you really had was word of mouth.
Yeah, it was all hearsay.
Hearsay. From April 3rd, 1888 to February 13th, 1891, 11 separate murders were included in a metropolitan police investigation called the Whitechapel Murders. Like I said earlier, it was so unclear if this was the same person, and many are very skeptical thinking that it was all by the same person. 5 of the 11 murders from the Whitechapel Murders are known as the Canonical Five, which are believed to be by Jack the Ripper because of the way they were murdered. I'm gonna put a disclaimer right here. If you are sensitive to icky talk and being murdered, this is going to go into detail, okay? So if you are very queasy, if you get sicky feeling really fast when you hear about icky things, I strongly advise you to go watch a different video. I won't be offended.
I've adjusted like 12 times this video. You're like, what is she doing?
So the way that he would murder them is by deep slash wounds to the throat, extensive abdominal and genital area mutilation, the removal of internal organs, and progressive facial mutilations. And it's never been confirmed how many people this man actually killed, even if he was a man. Like, I don't know for sure. Jack the Ripper, that's a boy's name, so I just went with he. He could have murdered a lot more or could have murdered a lot less, but they were determining it by the way that these people were murdered and how they found them. So that's really all they had to go off of at that point. Do you want to see more of this? Straw.
Right in the eye.
Or this. But on my Sims.
No.
But not this.
You're not gonna get naked. It is not an OnlyFans.
I would love to see you over at Patreon. We have a Patreon account that the link is in the description. You can go to it and subscribe and see all of this bonus content, Q&As, lives, bonus pictures, bonus footage, blooper reels, death.
My back.
All of that and more. So if you want to get to know us on more of a personal level, I don't know why you would, because we're kind of chaotic, but starting at $3 a month, you can come and support us. The support helps us with things like buying new equipment, going out and making more content for you guys. So the support is very much appreciated, and I thank all of you who have or are going to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you over there.
Yeah.
Brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
The first two cases in the Whitechapel Murders file are not included in the Canonical Five. Some say that they should be included. They are Emma Elizabeth Smith and Martha Tabram. On April 3rd, 1888, at 1:30 a.m., Emma was robbed and sexually assaulted in Osborne Street, Whitechapel. She was bludgeoned around her face and had a cut to her ear. A blunt object was inserted into her vagina and ruptured her peritoneum. She developed peritonitis and died the next day. She said she had been attacked by 2 or 3 men and described one to be a teenager. Many relate her murder to the general East End gang violence unrelated to the Ripper. On August 7th, 1888, Martha was murdered on a staircase landing in George Yard, Whitechapel. She had 39 stab wounds to her throat, lungs, liver, heart, spleen, stomach, abdomen, breasts, and vagina. She was not raped. Her location and date to the later canonical Ripper murders made police think this murder was him, but there were no wounds to her throat or abdomen in the way the Canonical Five were. It was left unconnected.
So the way that they were murdered, people didn't think that it was really the Ripper, but it could have been the Ripper, but nobody knows for sure if it was the Ripper. Now we get into the Canonical Five. So there were 5 victims, and we're going to talk about them. It gets really icky, Your last warning. The first victim was Mary Ann Nichols. On Friday, August 31st, 1888, in Bucks Row, Whitechapel, Mary's body was discovered. She had been seen alive an hour prior. Her throat was severed by 2 deep cuts, one of which completely severed all of the tissue down to the vertebrae. Her vagina was stabbed twice, and the lower part of her abdomen was partly ripped open by a deep, jagged wound, causing her bowels to protrude. She had several other stab wounds to both sides of her abdomen with the same knife and done in a downward thrusting manner. That was graphic.
Victim 2 was Annie Chapman. A week later, on Saturday, September 8, 1888, Annie was found at 6 a.m. near the steps of the doorway to the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street, Spitalfields. Her throat was severed by 2 deep cuts like Mary. Her abdomen was cut completely open with a section of flesh from her stomach being placed upon her left shoulder and another section of skin and flesh, including her small intestines, being removed and placed above her right shoulder. Her autopsy showed that her uterus and sections of her bladder and vagina were removed.
Victims 3 and 4 happened together, and they are Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes. They were both killed in the early morning hours of Sunday, September 30th, 1888. Elizabeth's body was found at 1 a.m. in Dutfield's yard off Burner Street in Whitechapel. Her cause of death was a single clear-cut incision 6 inches across her neck, which had severed her left carotid artery and her trachea before ending beneath her jaw. The lack of any other wounds to her makes people question if she was a victim of the Ripper. Catherine's body was found in a corner of the Mitre Square in the city of London. Her throat was severed from ear to ear and her abdomen ripped open by a long, deep, and jagged wound before her intestines had been placed over her right shoulder, with a section of intestine being completely detached and placed between her body and left arm. The left kidney and the major part of her uterus was removed, and her face was disfigured, with her nose severed, cheeks slashed, and cuts through each eyelid. These murders became known as the double event. A section of Catherine's apron was found at the entrance to a tenement. A chalk inscription on the wall right above the apron said, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." And some think it meant that a Jew was responsible for the murders. Others say it was just a coincidence. But I don't know, if part of her apron was found there and then like the chalk was right above it, like, I don't know.
Seems rather intentional.
Yeah, I just don't believe in coincidences. And then when they found that, they washed it away before morning, so then people didn't go into a frenzy over it.
Victim 5 is Mary Jane Kelly. On Friday, November 9th, 1888, at 10:45 a.m., her body was found lying on the bed in the single room where she lived at Spitalfields. Her face was hacked beyond recognition. Her throat was severed down to the spine, and the abdomen almost emptied of its organs. Her uterus, kidneys, and 1 breast had been placed beneath her head, and other organs from her body placed beside her foot. Sections of her abdomen and thigh were on a bedside table. Her heart was completely missing. Each of the murders happened at night, on or close to the weekend, and some think it wasn't just one killer, but multiple working together. Mary Jane Kelly is considered to be the Ripper's final victim, and many believe it's because the Ripper died, went to jail, or left.
Ghost stories are always scarier when they're told by the very people who experienced them. Hi, I'm Becky.
And I'm Diana.
And we're the hosts of the Homespun Haints podcast.
We talk to people just like you who have come face to face with ghosts, demons, haints, and other strange paranormal phenomena. All of it makes for a chilling good time.
So grab yourself a sweet tea, turn off the lights, and listen to some eerie, true ghost stories on Homespun Haints, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm not scared. Are you?
After all of these happened, it led to an investigation, but not the kind of investigation that would happen now, a completely different kind of investigation, because they weren't able, they couldn't.
Sounds like Meredith from Green Choose me, pick me.
There wasn't much experience handling these kinds of crimes back then. Fingerprinting, crime scene investigations, modern forensics, and even crime scene photography wasn't a thing back then, so they had nothing to go off of. The areas around where the murders were happening, so back then it was laid out like a labyrinth style, so it would be very easy for a person to just get away without anybody noticing, and it wasn't very well lit, so like at nighttime it was pitch black. It makes it very easy for someone to do that and get away.
I was laughing because you said it wasn't very lit.
Most of the police files surrounding this whole thing was destroyed in the Blitz, which was the German bombing. So a lot of things got destroyed back then. They did the one thing they knew that they could do, and they went house to house asking. Just imagine getting a knock on your door. Hello, did you murder this person? I'm sorry, what?
No, I didn't. Well, I have no choice but to believe you. I'm gonna move on to the next house.
Like, that's literally how it was back then. Through this whole process, more than 2,000 people were interviewed, 300 were legitimately investigated, and 80 were detained. Just
Lord.
for real. But every single interview, every single detainee, everything led to no concrete evidence, so everybody was just let go off the hook.
It's so surprising that, like, if you're on your deathbed, wouldn't you be like, it was me?
No?
I feel like that would be something somebody would do if you're, like, about to die and they still haven't solved the case.
Well, I guess to, like, if you wanted to clear your conscience.
Clear Klein foul.
The commissioner of the city police, Sir James Fraser, offered a reward for the arrest of the Ripper.
Sounds like a damn balloon.
Suspects they sought out were butchers, slaughterers, and surgeons. You know why? Because those people would be the most able to cut the way that that man cut. You know, removing the organs, doing all of this stuff. Like, it seemed only likely that someone of cutting experience would have been able to do that, not just like a random person off the street.
Like his cuts were very clean.
It was very methodical. Methodical?
Mythological.
Whatever that word
Methodical.
is. Thomas Bond, a police surgeon. I didn't even know they had police surgeons back then, but okay. He said all 5 murders, no doubt, were committed by the same hand. In the first 4, the throats appear to have been cut from left to right. In the last case, owing to the extensive mutilation, it is impossible to say in what direction the fatal cut was made, but arterial blood was found on the wall in splashes close to where the woman's head must have been lying. All the circumstances surrounding the murders lead me to form the opinion that the women must have been laying down when murdered, and in every case the throat was the first cut. There was some thought put into that statement. There is no evidence that he engaged in sexual activity with them. Experts say the killer derived sexual pleasure from the attacks.
The suspects. They believe that since the killings happened around the weekends and holidays that the Ripper had a job and lived locally. Possibly an educated upper-class doctor. Everybody named as a suspect is dead. Wow.
You don't say.
Famous names that were considered were Prince Albert Victor, the Freemasons, Walter Sickert, and Lewis Carroll.
We bring an Alice in Wonderland into it.
Apparently. By September 1888, police came to the conclusion that it was the local gangs. The identity remains unknown, but some names such as Aaron Kosminski, George Chapman, Thomas Cutbush, Dr. Francis Tumblety, James Maybrick, and Charles Cross were identified as suspects.
Hello, my dear Jimothy.
Hello, Timothy.
Would you like to hear a serial killer not so fun fact?
Well, yes, I would, as a matter of fact.
According to another theory, maybe Jack wasn't Jack after all,
It was Jill?
but a woman, which was a theory posed by famed Inspector Frederick Aberline at the time of the killings. According to Donald McCormick, author of The Identity of Jack the Ripper, published in 1959, Aberline raised the theory in a conversation with his mentor, Dr. Thomas Dutton, after the murder of Mary Kelly. Testimony given by Caroline Maxwell, who lived in the area, was central to the argument. Nice.
Hello, my old chap Timothy. Would you like to hear silly string? Would you like to hear
A silly string? Where did a silly string come from?
I don't know. Would you like to hear a serial killer not so fun fact?
Yes, I would. Butler.
Butler. So this was published May 12th of 2023.
New information!
Earlier in the year, DNA evidence emerged that suggests we can identify the true identity of Jack the Ripper. A shawl found on the body of Catherine Eddowes that contains forensic stains has been used to identify the killer as Aaron Kosminski, a 23-year-old barber from Poland. The analysis also suggests that the killer had brown eyes and hair, a description that Kosminski fit. The Jewish immigrant has long been linked with the crimes, but this is the first piece of forensic evidence that gives any sort of clear proof as to the killer's identity. The Journal of Forensic Sciences published the study who used DNA from a living relative of Kosminski. Kosminski would go on to be put in an asylum following the alleged murders where he died young. While there are those who say we don't have enough evidence to name Kosminski the killer, the DNA on the shawl undoubtedly brings us closer to knowing the true identity of Jack the Ripper.
That was the longest fact either one of us has ever told.
You right.
But like, that is crazy that from this year, like, wasn't that one of the guys that was named in here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Aaron Kosminski, yep.
And wasn't there was like, so when we did the Zodiac Killer, wasn't there like a new article that was like,
Gary Francis Post.
and we were like, oh, wait, did they figure it out?
And now we get to the letters. The police, newspapers, and a bunch of other people involved were getting hundreds of letters from people claiming to be, I almost said the Zodiac Killer, claiming to be Jack the Ripper. Some of the letters offered advice on how to catch the killer, and most of the letters obviously were just hoaxes and useless. 3 letters were found to be the most prominent, and it was a letter called Dear Boss, Saucy Jackie, which was a postcard, and then another letter called From Hell. The Dear Boss letter was dated September 25th and postmarked September 27th, 1888. It was received by the Central News Agency and forwarded to Scotland Yard. It was originally considered a hoax, but Christine was found 3 days after the letter had been postmarked. So the letter says, Dear Boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on whores, and I shan't quit ripping them until I do get buckled. This is so weird because I'm reading it like how they used to talk back then, and it's not how they talk. Well, it is probably still how they talk because it's proper English, but there's nothing proper about me. I am down on whores, and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers for jolly wouldn't you. Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Good luck, yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands, curse it. No luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now, haha.
I can't tell if he seems fairly intelligent or if it's just because of the way they used to talk.
I know.
I was gonna say he probably was fairly intelligent if he didn't get caught, but it was also back when it was really hard to do so.
Yeah. And then the Saucy Jackie postcard was postmarked October 1st, 1888. The handwriting was similar to the Dear Boss letter, so it says, "I was not codding, dear old boss, when I gave you the tip. You'll hear about Saucy Jackie's work tomorrow. Double event this time, number 1 squealed. A bit couldn't finish straight off. Had not time to get ears off for police. Thanks for keeping last letter back till I got to work again. Jack the Ripper." That was postmarked 24 hours after the double killing, which is what made people think that it was him. The From Hell letter was received by George Lusk, leader of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, on October 16th, 1888. The handwriting style wasn't like the other two, so they were very certain that it was just a hoax. It came with a small box, and inside that small box had half of a human kidney. What the heck?
Good.
It was preserved in the spirits of wine. I don't know what that means. Catherine's left kidney had been removed, and the writer claimed he fried and ate the missing kidney half. The kidney was examined by doctors at a local hospital, and it was determined that it was a real kidney. But most people, like most of the public, was like, there is no possible way. Like, this is 100% a hoax. All of these letters are hoaxes. Like, y'all are playing us. They probably didn't say it in that way, but police later claimed they identified a journalist as the writer of Dear Boss and the postcard. Tom Bolin was identified in a letter from Chief Inspector John Littlechild to George R. Sims, dated September 23rd, 1913. So this was quite a while later. In 1931, Fred Best, a journalist, confessed, saying he and a colleague had written other letters, Jack the Ripper, to heighten interest in the murders and keep the business alive.
Very strange.
But now with what you found, saying that the letters could have been him, like, who knows?
I wonder, like, it's been so long and we've come so far in, like, being able to figure things out. I wonder how these cases aren't being solved.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, somewhere, something... I don't know. I guess it's possible that there's a lot of unsolved cases, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's been, like, 150 years or 130 years or whatever since this happened. And, like, people have been, like, studying it for all of that time. And it's so strange that, like, just now, they're like, oh, we found this little piece of forensics.
But then again, like, once they did have all of these tools that they were able to use, where would they, like, what would they do? Like, dig up the bodies or something? Like, I feel like, where would they even start? Who knows? Wow. But you know that if he did that today, he would get caught so easily.
I don't know, it feels like serial killers you don't ever hear about them. I mean, like, they're not as prominent now as they were in, like, the 70s or the 1800s. There was, like, chunks of time where it's like, there's, like, 50 serial killers here. And,
yeah, because, like, didn't Eileen and either Bundy or Gein overlap each other?
It was Eileen and Bundy, and then I think it was Eileen, Bundy, John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, okay.
I think it was, like, those three were, like, in the same, like, they all had killings in, like, the same decade or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like, that is crazy. But then again, like, you think about it now, and, like, if you go into the city and murder somebody, chances are you're going to get caught pretty quickly. Like, there's not going to be a lot of time for you to go and kill somebody else in that span. Because, like, you know, in cities they have, like, the shot spotters now where, like, it detects to the police that a shot was fired at this exact location. So, like, they can get there and
there's
then...
cameras and there's people with cameras in their pockets.
Yeah,
and, like...
People have security cameras, security systems all through their house. Like, one way or another, you're going to be seen, and you're probably going to get snitched on. So, I don't know. Like, maybe they're just trying to get jiggy with it.
What?
Like, I don't know how they can outsmart the technology that we have now. Like, I
Not
have
for very
no
long,
idea.
they can't.
Yeah. But let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know if you think that guy that Carly talked about could be the true Jack the Ripper, or if it's Jill.
It might be Jill.
So like and comment and subscribe if you want to see more Serial Killer Monthly videos. We have a whole plethora on here, so you can go and check them out and let us know what you think. Fall down a rabbit hole with us. Lose your sanity.
Like, Like in Alice the Wonderland. Alice the Wonderland. Because she fell down a rabbit hole.
This is the last video until October, so we will see you October 1st. Thanks for watching. Be safe out there.
You scared me.
Okay, bye!